It is Dumb Guy Live, February 6th, 2024. We got P here. We got Jamie here. Murph will be joining us later. He's doing college things. He's taking an exam on some dumb shit, just some dumb like idiot like college shit or whatever. But Jamie, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. It's gonna be a pretty big week for the podcast. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of big news. The thing we'll get into immediately kind of trumps everything else, and that's why we'll start with it. But in terms of the actual kind of wrestling news, it has been another big week of newsworthy stuff in Japan, so it should be a very interesting one.
Yeah. I'm glad to see everybody in the comments. Oh, we already 37 viewers. John doing his little song as always. Dumb Guy, how you get so fly? Got Overlord Dan, got Shaw, we got IDE. IDK might be our most loyal, pretty loyal people. IDK
we got a lot of regulars, we got quite a loyal.
Yeah, we got some regulars. Our most Dumb Six is one of our most regular as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cookie saying hello, lads.
Hello.
Icon Super OG, not even home. And I know I love that. Now I had to tune in for the best pro podcast. Trav's doing bits already. Trav's having a cheeky laugh at Rossy's expense. We a lot.
Oh yeah.
On this show. Minutes though at the start. Never the goal, never talk about on content creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't blame anybody for really want to go over this, but on Sunday night, our time, my time at least, it was revealed by Actress Girls that the wrestler Asahi had passed away due to what they described as an accident. It's pretty common, from what I understand, and an realization of me, but in Japan to not reveal a cause of death or anything like that. So we just know unexpected accident. But regardless of the circumstances around us, Asahi's passing, I really wanted to talk about this, namely because at one time she was my favorite wrestler in the whole world, and it made me really, of course, it made me really sad. Of course, we were live, and my connection's going out, so hopefully it's not too bad for y'all. But we were live when the news broke that Jay Briscoe passed away, and I was so proud of Murph on that pod. I thought he was so great about establishing. He immediately went into. He was so respectful, remembered him well, sent out his well wishes to Jay's family and everything like that. And if I can get across that same sentiment here on this pod, that's the goal. So, Jamie, if you'll forgive me, I'm going to just talk for a bit.
Go for it, man.
And I'll throw it over to you when appropriate, or maybe I'll have to at a certain point. But I'm just going to give people a history of Asahi's career. She debuted in Ice Ribbon. She is, and I actually want to pull up her cage match because she had kind of a unique path. She was only 21, which is a horribly early age to pass away. Not that far off from Hana Kimura's age when she passed away, of course, hopefully, ostensibly under different circumstances. But I think a big indicator of just how high people thought Asahi's heights were going to go in her career was that she debuted in a singles match in Korakuen Hall against Manami Toyota. All right. Who I would say is the consensus greatest women's wrestler of all time. I always had that as a bit of pride as an Ice Ribbon fan, that the one promotion that she really seemed to identify with post-retirement for her was Ice Ribbon Pro Wrestling. And for one of Manami Toyota's last matches, competitor, right, is her, I believe, second ribbon match in 2017 By the way, Asahi's only 16 in this match, so like Ice Ribbon, they know how to scout talent, and Asahi. She had a strong start to her career. She wrestled all throughout 2018, and then interestingly, once the pandemic hit, she wrestled for a little bit, like in August, when it opened back up just a little bit. But then she took like of wrestling. I don't know if it was studies. I don't know exactly why she took that year off. But when she came back, it was in like the heat of my Ice Ribbon fandom. Like I was so into the promotion more than I'd ever been. And my favorite wrestler for Ice Ribbon at the time was Sakushi Haruka, who was a longtime world champion. Another wrestler who debuted as a young teenager. She debuted actually, I think, when she was like 11 or something like that. Just crazy. Another wrestler who was co-signed by Manami Toyota as a great wrestler. And Sakushi Haruka eventually championship the next year. And I'm loving this Asahi. She's good. She's got someone who matches her. She's a couple years behind her, but in Kaho Matsushita, they got this great young core with Ibuki Hoshi as well. It's just a great group of young wrestlers that just make every card great when you combine them with the veterans like Sakushi and Tsukasa Fujimoto. And this is the tail end of Suzu Suzuki's time there. And there's Yuki Mashiro in the promotion as well. It's just like you look back at the talent, and it's just preposterous how much talent this indie had, right? And if in I think May 2022, that sounds right to me. Yes, May 2022. Sakushi Haruka, at the age of 25, I believe, retires. She announces her retirement at age 25. Super young time to wrestler. But as we talked about in the Himeka show, anytime a wrestler can go out on their own terms is good as far as we're concerned. And as we know, Ice Ribbon is very wrestler run, and the wrestlers have a lot of say in booking and storylines and everything like that. And it is not a coincidence that at the Yokohama Budokan, Sakushi Haruka's handpicked choice to be the final, she was the champion, she was the Ice Cross Infinity champion at the time. Her choice to defend the title at the Yokohama Budokan, the largest venue Ice Ribbon has run since, was Asahi. That was her opponent. Now, Asahi didn't win that match, and I was mad at the time because she was my favorite wrestler. And I'm like, I love this Asahi, and how perfect would it be if she wins the title from Sakushi? You'd have a star on your hands, right? They didn't do that. I'm not sure exactly why, even in hindsight, but as soon as she lost that match, I was all in on the chase. Like, I'm like, Asahi, she's going to win this title at some matter of time. And I just loved her as a wrestler. She as a performer was so great at just evoking emotion. She was very much subscribed to the Tsukasa Fujimoto style of crowd engagement, where she's incredibly likable to the fans so well. And she's able to incorporate comedy and humor into her matches in a way that's not like corny, in a way that's not a turn off, but it's like, oh, that's fun. You know what I mean? She's able to be heelish, able to get pissed off and like frustrated, but in a likable way. It's like, oh, I want to see this girl succeed. So yeah, my favorite wrestler and my favorite promotion. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out the way I wanted him to in Ice Ribbon for Asahi. She did end up challenging for the Ice Cross Infinity Championship at Ribbon Mania, which is historically Ice Ribbon's second biggest show of the year, in a fantastic match against Soriano. And after that, she was always plagued by these moments of trying to think of how to put this. She wore her heart on her sleeve. She was very active on Twitter. She would talk about her feelings all the time. And then she would tweet these refrains of like, I love pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is great. And it was almost like Vince herself that she loved pro wrestling occasionally. But we get to the end after that match against Ano, and we get into 2023, and she's doing some complaining about Ice Ribbon, and she ends up going to Actress Girl. They say ostensibly, but we knew the writing was on the wall. She's not coming back to Ice Ribbon. There have been relationships that were not mended, and to be honest, I was like, you know what? I'm not an Actress Girls fan. It's not my cup of tea. Hopefully, she finds another path into a promotion that I am a big fan of. See her again. I was content letting her take her path to be wherever it ended up being. And now we're left with a lot of questions on what could have been, what would have been. But ultimately, those questions come secondary to the fact that there was a wrestler who was incredibly young, again, only 21 years old, beloved by a lot of people, who is now gone. And I don't know that the circumstances necessarily matter, but I guess all I can say is what made me the most, what was a bit of a shining light in a very dark time was I've had multiple people tell me that the reason they became Asahi because I promoted her so much in my in my content creation and stuff like that, because I felt like she deserved it, and I still believe that. We talk about all the time, right? We sort of rag on wrestlers like Mirai or whoever, right? Who are like, you know what, they're technically sound, but for whatever reason we don't care. You know what I mean? Like David Finlay, we joke about people like that, right? And this is the ethos of Beast of the Week, who are able to evoke emotions out of us, right? We don't just watch because we feel like we're obligated to. We watch because we love wrestling. And wrestling is at its best when it evokes an emotion out of us. And for Asahi to wrestle in front of 40 people at the Ice Ribbon Dojo, all the way at the Yokohama Budokan, she was such a star. She was such a star. And so I'm very sad for her family, for her friends, for anybody in wrestling who knew her. I'm sure there are a lot. I'm sure the Actress Girls locker room is going through it. They say they're going to do a show, I think the 21st. I'll be interested to see what they end up doing. I'm sure they'll treat it with care and respect. I have no doubts on that. I'm sure that the Ice Ribbon people are going through a lot of conflicted emotions right now. Yappy, to her credit, has been so kind on Twitter and so open about how great of a person Asahi was outside of the outside of what you see. She portrayed herself well, but a lot of wrestlers portray herself well. So to get those stories from Yappy meant a lot. And it's a very unique thing. When Jay Briscoe passed away, when Brody Lee passed away, when Bray Wyatt passed away, when even Hana Kimura passed away, they were all so universally beloved, right? Yeah. Or at least known, right? In a way that was like, you can understand the wrestling community coming together. This one is different. She wrestled for 2 small Joshi indies in her career. And so it feels a lot more personal as somebody who is a big fan of one of those Joshi indies and her in particular. And so I just have to say, our Portuguese friend posting here, this is what this cheers me up. This makes me feel better. Remember checking out that Asahi versus Saori match because of me, and thinking, damn, this girl is great, right? I mean, that's why you share. Like we post about wrestling and we talk about wrestling because we want to share the great feelings that we felt about our messages, about matches, right? And we want other people to feel that way because it's a great feeling. And because we have this weird thing, wrestling doesn't make sense as like an art form. It's stupid, right? It's fake fighting. Why don't we watch real fights? MMA exists, right? Or why don't we watch action movies? They have higher production values and better stories. That great thing between each other, and I think I think Asahi is a great microcosm of that. And I'll ask you if you have anything to add. But well, you know what? I'm actually any input. I know few people are Ice Ribbon fans but just anything to add. I know you did see at least a couple of her matches. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll say that I think that was incredibly kind of well put together kind of summary of her career and why she was so special to you. I think you did absolutely amazing job. When you told me that you were just going to kind of take the lead there, I had absolutely no issues with that, because I knew you're the absolute best man for the job to do that. So, you know, well done on doing that, because I know obviously how much you meant to you. The way I came across Asahi, as you know, evidently a lot of people in the chat here did, as I mentioned to you before we went live, was through you. When we started the podcast, I wasn't exactly like a huge Ice Ribbon fan at the time, as you just mentioned. I was aware of a lot of the people there, but I wasn't kind of following the product closely. So when we started the podcast and you told me about your favorite wrestler there being Asahi, I decided to check out when the Ribbon Mania main event, as you mentioned, 2022, against Soriano, and I understood it straight away. You know why she was your favorite wrestler, why she's so many people's favorite wrestler. You know, has kind of had an impact on so many people's wrestling fandoms. You know, just such a lovable character. You know, and great in-ring work to go with it as well. She was kind of like the perfect baby face for them in there. Just infectious, lovable charisma. And seeing the reactions and the comments from people who worked with her, who knew her, and even just outside, seemingly that translated to Asahi as, you know, the actual person outside of the ring. Like you say, though, she wore her heart on her sleeve, so you know, that's kind of understandable to see. You know, she was such a lovable character for everyone who met her, and when we, you know, unfortunately, we've kind of had to lose wrestlers. We've lost wrestlers, you know, way too young, too many times in the last couple of years. I feel like we've been live on podcasts talking about these things a lot more than I would have liked to when we started these things. It's always very, very tragic, and you know, 21 years old is incredibly and way too young to go. So it's a really, really tough one to cover, but I think you did absolutely exceptional job. It was interesting for me to hear. As I said, I wasn't super familiar with large portions of her career, and it's one of those things, again, when these things happen, unfortunately, these are periods when, you know, Asahi's career will now have a lot more attention than it ever would have done, and for the talent that she was, it would have been so nice for it to have that attention while she was still here. Of course, we all wish she was still here, but I think you can also take, you know, a positive in the fact that as tragic as this situation now is, I think a lot more people are going to make themselves familiar with Asahi, and hopefully that you know, her career will have that same positive impact as it did for the people who were there and experienced it live, like yourself. So that's my thoughts on it. It's an incredibly tragic situation. The first person I thought about when I saw it was yourself. I don't know. I reached out to make sure you were all good, but it's incredibly tough. So anyone who's familiar with Asahi's career, and even people who are just kind of coming across it now, it's incredibly tough thing to do. You know, you've always got to, you know, these things remind us. You know, make sure you tell the people that you love them. You never know when these things are going to happen. And yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
I appreciate that, Jamie. A couple things, and then we can get to the pod proper. I'll say, I really love this comment from Scarecrow. I was talking about how she wore her heart on her sleeve, and you kind of mentioned that just now too. Always thought it was admirable how open she was and the way she interacted with fans, often breaking the usual pro Twitter protocol and actually replying to people. Right, like, she was so open. She'd post about anything. She'd reply to people. She'd talk to people. It was just very unique among, especially Joshi wrestlers, where, you know, if we're being real, that the Joshi fandom can sometimes be toxic and problematic, and that's a generalization. Of course, most people aren't like that, but for her to go above and beyond and do that, I remember when Sakushi retired, Asahi was announced as like for a while, literally, if you wanted to buy Ice Ribbon tickets, you had to DM Asahi on Twitter and be like, hey, how do I buy tickets? It was like at 19. So they're like, they obviously just had the biggest plans, and of course, I'm sure some personal stuff didn't quite work out, and I'm sure everybody had their reasons for whatever that was. But along the lines of what Scarecrow is saying, I have to say that just about everybody I've seen has been incredibly respectful of it. I have seen practically nobody, exploiting this situation to like make some grander statement or to for engagement on Twitter or something like that. And I really appreciate that, because I think people on Twitter and stuff, they're so quick to hit post. They're so quick to like have a take or an opinion on something. Opinion, it's more often better to not on things like this. And so I've just been very impressed with people. My closing thought: I'm so sad that a 21-year-old had to die. So someone 7 years younger than me, someone just pretty much me, just a little bit older than Murph, right? And so, yeah, I'm all the best to her family, her friends, anybody who ever worked with her, and anybody like me who was a fan. And then finally, wrestling is a tight-knit community. Japanese tight-knit community. Joshi, by extension, indie Joshi wrestling is about as specific as it gets. And even if you weren't a big fan or didn't follow her super closely, it sends shockwaves when something like this happens. So I just hope everybody's doing okay. I'm doing okay. Yeah, and this was therapeutic for me, these first 20 minutes of this pod, and I so appreciate the well wishes both of us do from everybody in the comments. So thank you all so much. I see, even if I don't put them all on the screen, I see them and I appreciate all of them. So Jamie, with that, should we talk about Rossy Ogawa and what the hell is going on in the world of Joshi Pro Wrestling right now, especially Stardom? So here's what's going to happen, folks. As you know, I usually take control of the play-by-play guy. I'm going to throw it over to Jamie. He's going to lay out the situation for us, and I'm going to go into talking head mode, and I'm going to offer my thoughts, my reactions. So, Jamie, you can condense this wide-ranging situation into a digest for us.
Right. So February 4th, I'll start with kind of the earlier part today, which kind of, when you put it with what followed, makes it even more crazy. February 4th, we had Stardom's 13th anniversary Supreme Fight Show. We may get into what happened on the show a little bit later, but at the end of the show, Mike Ed brings all the roster out and Rossy Ogawa, and they all take a picture in the ring, even Oedo Tai, and that never happens. They all got in there, and that was how we closed out the show. Later in the day, or I guess earlier in the morning, for depending on your time zones, it was around the time when NXT Vengeance Day was on. So it was early in the morning for me, February 5th. Stardom and Bushiroad announced that they had terminated the contract of Stardom's founder, executive producer, Rossy Ogawa. And it's a pretty lengthy statement, but in the statement, it's they allege that Rossy has been poaching talent and staff, which led to his termination. This was very quickly followed by Sean Ross Sapp tweeting that there were rumors circulating that Rossy Ogawa is potentially heading to WWE. This was since downplayed by Dave Meltzer, who indicated that Rossy may be looking to start his own promotion. And then in an interview with Tokyo Sports, Rossy revealed that is his intention, and there are plans being put towards starting his own promotion. He addressed the poaching of talent, and that poaching of talent thing. Following Sean's tweets, people thought that Rossy was some sort of Simon Inoki level espionage figure, and it seems that Tony Khan may have also bought into this train of thought. He kind of exploded with a couple of gifts. He seemed very happy that Rossy was leaving Stardom. But he mentioned that talent had actually come to him or come to Stardom and, expressed their concern about Rossy leaving. Rossy said that he'd given his notice to Stardom about his intention to leave in November. And the idea would be that he would be leaving around March, I believe. Obviously, Bushiroad then, with the amount of... Bushiroad then revealed to talent the news of Rossy, that Rossy would be leaving in late January. And it appears that the amount of talent that came up to them, maybe requesting to leave or having questions about potentially leaving, led them to believe that Rossy had been poaching talent for this new promotion. And so they brought it forward. They terminated his contract following an anniversary show. And now here we are. We're currently in the position of Rossy Ogawa is no longer in Stardom. There is a new promotion on the horizon, seemingly. And it looks like a lot of talent could be following him out the door. Dave Meltzer said that pretty much every talent, apart from Mayu Iwatani, their contract is coming up in March. That may be a bit of a Dave Meltzerism. He may have been exaggerating slightly there. Murph has now finally joined us in time for the Rossy news. But yeah, and then the final thing from the news, we'll cover each bit partially in a moment, but it appears that Julia may also be heading over to Rossy's new promotion temporarily before seemingly heading to WWE. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to get into. We've spoken already. This year so far, we had the kind of the All Japan WWE stuff, the Okada leaving WWE news, and now this. It seems like every week we say, is this one of the biggest stories in Puro history? And this is very much another one of those cases. But Parker, we'll start with you. What was your initial reaction to the Rossy news?
It was just so jarring and abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, they literally that weekend took the big roster photo with everybody, including, and then he's got it's just so abrupt for somebody. And again, Rossy is the face, the figurehead of the promotion. I'm trying to think of who an analog for him is, because he's not the owner per se, but he's been also another thing that people don't realize about Rossy is he's been around forever. He did RCN. He did A to Z, right? I think he did. What was the Actress Girls precursor? That I'm sure somebody in the chat.
Arceon.
No, I already said that. But there was an Actress Girls precursor that was a lot like Actress Girls that I'm forgetting. It was like magic. It was something to do with magic. But anyway, he's been around forever. Okay, and he's always been around Joshi Indies, right? And Stardom was his first promotion that really got above. I mean, yeah, and he was all the way back in, of course, the most important one. He was all the way back in All Japan Women. He was involved there, right? I really want to remember the name of that promotion, because there was some cool stuff about around that promotion that I think people don't realize existed. But anyway, I was just surprised at the abruptness of it. Rossy, you cannot underestimate how much of a force he is. He is as synonymous with Joshi wrestling as any non-wrestler in the last 25 years in Japan. Yeah. Whatever he ends up doing, no matter the level of talent that he has, are an immediate player in the Joshi scene, probably the immediate number 2 on the scene, even above TJPW, as TJPW has kind of faltered in attendance and I would just say general attention recently. It's just huge news. He's Stardom always felt like it was backed by the Rossy ethos. So what does that mean for Stardom? What changes do we see? Also, is this new Rossy promotion just going to be just like Stardom? Is he going to work hard to distinguish it in some way? What's going to be the difference here? So maybe, it makes me wonder more specifically about the Stardom X Stardom shows, right? I'm trying to think if that's a Rossy thing or if that was a wrestler's thing. Because if it's a Rossy thing, we could see more of a sports entertainment style in whatever he ends up doing, or vice versa. We could see Stardom lean more in that direction, and if Rossy cares more about the wrestling. But that was the biggest thing for me, was just how abrupt of a thing it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my kind of initial reaction was pretty similar. There was a slight thought over the past couple of months that something like this could be on the horizon. I was always I was already a little bit doubtful for it. Voices of Wrestling had said that Rossy was leaving a couple of months ago, and obviously they have kind of a bit of a hit and miss track record with these things. So, but it was in the back of my mind, and then obviously looking at last year, particularly towards the tail end of 2023. And 2023 was a much weaker year for Stardom in kind of comparison to their recent form. Particularly throughout the pandemic and stuff, they were one of the hottest promotions in wrestling. So it was a lot weaker. And then seeing the kind of the interviews from people like Julia, who talked about wanting the promotion to be more wrestler oriented, wanting Rossy to have more control. It seemed like that Bushiroad had gradually kind of been taking the reins from Rossy in 2023. It really came to a head. I think you touched on the Stardom X Stardom shows and the more sports entertainment element of some of those things. My assessment of it is I'm fairly sure that that's a Bushiroad call. I think Julia spoke about it in her interview when she talked about like doing ladder matches and booking those over title
Morris
matches.
said that too. Good.
Yeah. So I think in terms of guessing what Rossy's new promotion would be like, I think it would be more towards the earlier Bushiroad era Stardom or pre-Bushiroad entirely, I guess. But yeah, it's so shocking, and obviously the implications of it, which we'll get into in a little bit, are wild, and we'll talk about who potentially could be leaving, who could be staying, what the new promotion is going to look like. But Murph, what was your initial reactions to the Rossy Ogawa news?
Before I say my actual reaction, I'm going to preface this with Rossy Ogawa is one of the most important figures in Joshi wrestling ever. You know, this is a big deal. And if you don't think this is a big deal, you're extremely naive. And there are going to be wrestlers that join this Rossy Ogawa promotion. Now that I just prefaced that he's important, now I'm going to shit on him. Rossy Ogawa is a terrible person. Rossy Ogawa has been taking advantage of girls under the age of 18 and putting them in scantily clad clothes, in bikinis, and shit like that, and selling books about them to perverted men in Japan for a long time. I am very happy with this news for multiple reasons. Number one, I believe Rossy Ogawa is not a good person for the reasons I just outlined. He is a borderline pedo. Almost a borderline. And you see, the second thing is AEW CEO, President, and GM Tony Khan recently said that Rossy Ogawa was the reason that AEW and Stardom have not had anything. And I can tell you that is a shame, because there have been Stardom wrestlers who have publicly said they would like to work with AEW. And there are AEW wrestlers who publicly wanted to work with Stardom on the Forbidden Door shows the last 2 years. So as a casual fan of Stardom and a full fan of AEW, I am elated at this news. And the fact of the matter is, I know for a fact that Rossy Ogawa is more preferent of WWE, because Mariah May, in the multiple interviews she has done since joining AEW, has said that she never said AEW to Rossy because she knew it was going to be a problem, without elaborating on it much so. So if you put two and two together, if you're an AEW fan and a Stardom fan together, this is great news. And if you're a fan of not exploiting young girls, I believe that Stardom's in much better hands of Bushiroad compared to Rossy Ogawa.
Well, that was quite the statement from Murph. I anticipated Murph's reaction would be very AEW oriented. So, yeah, the AEW kind of connotations of this are very interesting. They're not my kind of top priority. There's a lot in this Rossy Ogawa thing, and I've seen a lot of people talking about now the prospect of Stardom a Forbidden Door. You know, that appears more likely now, I guess. And what I'd say to that is, what does that even look like now, as we're about to get into potential talent exodus?
Yeah.
If that comes to fruition, who is that? Who is Stardom at this point in time? So I guess that's where we'll head next to this thing. Obviously, first mentioned by, I believe, Dave Meltzer who, I guess first mentioned in the actual Bushiroad statement in terms of poaching talent. And then obviously Meltzer mentioned that some talent were considering leaving, requested to leave. And then the new Stardom president, Taro Okada, has outright said it publicly to Tokyo Sports that talent have requested to leave, and some have asked them about what they should do in the future following the news of Rossy leaving. So I believe we had a super chat from the man who beat Chris Patton twice, strikes back, a $2 super chat if you want to pull that one up. So I guess we'll get into the possible talent exodus and what this could mean for Stardom. Again, as Meltzer said, it seems like the contract situation for a lot of the roster, apart from Mayu Iwatani, who seemingly has some sort of an extension due to her upcoming movie, it seems like there could be a lot of people out the exit door. So I'll start with you, Parker. What do you kind of think this potential exodus will entail? What will it mean for Stardom? Who do you think will be following Rossy? Do you think will stay with the Bushiroad led Stardom? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't feel like I have a strong indication of who would leave or stay. I really just don't. For some reason, I feel like, and maybe this is just the way Rossy promoted himself, but like Rossy obviously very clearly cares a lot about the like appearance and I don't know how to say this, just like attractiveness of like wrestlers, or that seemed, maybe it was just a gimmick. I that could genuinely just be like a gimmick, right? But for me, it feels like the like, you know, Cosmic Angels adjacent wrestlers might be closer to leaving. But again, that also kind of feels like a Bushiroad thing too. Maybe not. I guess I don't know. It's a hard thing to. It's a hard judgment to make. The fact that Julia is his strongest soldier is like interesting. I wonder, like does that tell me that like Micah, because who appears to be quite close with Julia outside of wrestling, is, or like Suzu Suzuki, or you know, anybody, or Mai Sakurai or Tekla, right? Tekla's taking like time off as well, I believe, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's really hard. I just don't know. Like, it's not like AEW where a lot of the like factions of people within that company are pretty obvious if you know where to look. Whereas we just don't have that link to I guess Japanese wrestling. So I'm really interested. Like, I think this could, like, when we talk about how great the Stardom roster is, but divided, cut in half, doesn't look so hot. So it'll be interesting to see who ends up going and whether they have trainees or whether they try to poach, you know, like people from Colors or other smaller, you know, promotions or Prominence or people like that. So yeah, a lot of questions.
Here's the deal for me. There's going to be wrestler turnover here. That's just what's going to happen. That's just the deal with this. But the fact of the matter is, I can bet 100% all my money on that the worst wrestler of all time, Nanae Takahashi, is going to leave Stardom. So, as a fan who would like to get into Stardom, that excites me. That makes me think, oh, the cancer is gone. So now I can indulge in this promotion. Who is going to get turned around? Bushiroad doesn't have a lot of money right now, but they have a lot more money than Tokyo Joshi Pro. Bushiroad could, if they are going to have all these wrestlers off the books, they could easily say, hey, I want Miyu Watanabe, and they're going to get Miyu Watanabe. They could say, hey, I want who's the girl that's really good? She works in DPW sometimes. Older
Saruga?
lady. No.
Oh, Emi Sakura?
No, not Emi Sakura.
Older lady.
Ash's old profile picture.
Miyuki Takase?
Yeah, like people like her. You know,
she's like 25.
well, that's old for Japanese wrestling, for women's wrestling, unless you're like a fossil like an eye. But the fact of the matter is, you know, Stardom to me is going to be better, and you know, and I put all my trust in Bushiroad to move forward in a better way, in a more professional way, unlike Rossy. So I am all for this promotion. You know, especially if AEW is on the table, and especially if the evil WWE is not involved. So yes, I am all for this, and go Bushi Road. Ichi Sanda.
So my outlook on this is almost the absolute opposite of what Murph just said. um, looking at this in terms of who may leave, obviously we already have pretty much one almost confirmed in terms of Julia. Julia was heading out anyway, but it looks like she's going to follow Rossy, at least for a couple of months before she heads over to the States. You talked about Cosmic Angels. I kind of tend to lean on the side of their Bushi Road wrestlers more so, and I feel that they may be more inclined to say than others. My actual focus on this currently would be homegrown Stardom talents, particularly longer tenured Stardom talents. The Dave Meltzer's report seemed to indicate that Mayu Iwatani wasn't available to leave immediately. I think she's gone. I think she's going to leave with Rossy. If you know anything about Mayu Iwatani's story, Rossy is essentially like her dad, pretty much in pro wrestling. I can't foresee a world in which Rossy Ogawa leaves Stardom, starts a new promotion, and Mayu Iwatani does not stay. And Mayu Iwatani stays in the Bushi Road led Stardom. I think she's likely to follow Rossy. And what that means for my enjoyment of Stardom. Obviously, I'm still going to follow the product. I'm still going to love the product, depending on who sticks around, and I'll be keeping up with it. But as a fan of Stardom for a long, long time, Stardom won't be Stardom without Rossy and Mayu. I think what Stardom is in its identity. I'm more loyal to the talent and what the identity of Stardom is than a brand, right? So as much as the company may keep going and they may keep a lot of talent, if it's not going to feel like how Stardom did, and there's an alternative that is essentially led by the people who were Stardom, that's more appealing to me as a fan. And then in terms of looking at potential other talent,
know who just came to mind? You know who just came to mind? Maybe you were going to say this. I bet Shuri's gone. I bet she's out. I bet she's out of there. I bet because she's so close with Julia, and appears to be like close with Mayu to a certain extent, even though they haven't obviously ever been in the same stable. I wonder if Shuri's gone. Shuri's a big one for me. Like, she's weird because she's never been like one of my favorites, but she's just so like fucking good and just adds so much credibility to her. She's like I don't know. She'd be like like when Claudio came into AEW and was immediately just like this huge deal. I was like, oh man, like how could anybody have ever like missed on this guy? You know what I mean? And I feel like Shuri has been kind of placed for a minute here. I don't know.
Yeah, so in terms of the other people I'll be looking at, like I said, homegrown talents. 3 stables come to mind when I think of homegrown talents, and that's Stars, Queen's Quest, and Oedo Tai. Looking at Stars, I think almost all of them are going to be very loyal to Rossy Ogawa. They're all pretty much homegrowns apart from Momo Kogo. So I feel like the likes of Hazuki, someone like Asahi Ida, who hasn't had a lot of focus on the Bushi Road led Stardom, I think is likely to go, and also probably will benefit a lot. In a similar vein, Momo Watanabe from Oedo Tai, I think as kind of, well, she was on a trajectory to be almost an ace-like figure in Stardom, and then clearly that was not something that Bushi Road bought into to the same extent. So I feel she's going to be someone who's probably going to be very loyal to Ogawa. Probably look at getting starting fresh in a new promotion. But there's a lot, and like you said, the bigger names are obviously the key ones to focus in on. Someone like Shuri, Tam Nakano, which obviously we've already mentioned. That I kind of tend to lean on the side that she'll stay, but she's going to be very crucial. She was voted, I believe, in ShuPro the #1 most popular pro wrestler in Japan last year, above Tetsuya Naito. So in terms of optics and how popular, for attendance, how popular this new promotion is going to be, or how well Stardom's going to be able to keep afloat, I feel like her status is going to be pretty crucial. And there's a lot more, of course. Aphrodite, homegrown talents, where their loyalty is going to lie. Currently, the tag team champions. And before we kind of move on, Taro Okada in his Tokyo Sports interview, he mentioned that current title holders are people that have expressed concern or desire to leave. And he also mentioned that it's to such an extent, and this where we kind of look at how this possible exodus is going to look like. He said that the possibility of the promotion not being able to keep going is on the table right now, which is pretty bleak if you're kind of, if you're a Stardom fan that wants to remain kind of sticking to Stardom. But so I guess you can read into that what you will in terms of how many and who the names are that are looking to go. But I'll just kind of end on, for me again, what I already said is the identity of Stardom for me is the product that Rossy Ogawa created, and the rest is like Mayu Iwatani, Momo Watanabe, and people like that. So if they're the people that are heading over to the new promotion, then that feels more Stardom to me than a Bushiroad-led Stardom.
Interesting. Yeah, the statement from Taro Okada saying that, I mean, we might not be able to. That's so monumental for Joshi as a whole, especially, and what a reversal from all of Stardom's like crazy growth over the last few years too. A couple more super chats here. We got, is that a pound or a euro? It's one of the two. Don't tell me, actually. I don't care. From Mr. Hanky. Get ready for Hazuki, Starlight Kid, and Azumi Starlight Toxic Attraction. I'm good on that. Thanks, though. We got Will Chisholm. So how long will it be before Rossi's company starts working with WWE? Half joking, but not. Nah, that ain't happening. I'm not.
Not long.
Yeah,
not long at all.
The WWE thing is a weird one. I don't think it's like people who like don't follow Stardom and are looking at this news have been shouting about NXT Japan and stuff like that. And everything, if you read into the actual reports and stuff, that's disproven like almost immediately. Potential like working relationship, I think, is not entirely impossible. I think particularly if Stardom are going to now work with AEW, and Rossy is more kind of WWE oriented than AEW. If that's to be believed, then I guess that could be a possibility. I don't think it would extend to anything more than the thing that we've already seen with an All Japan. But it's one of those things that's, it's so kind of, we don't even have the new promotion yet. We don't have a name. We don't have a talent pool. That is something for like way into the future. That's kind of speculating a little bit ahead of what we've already got right now. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that right now, but I wouldn't entirely rule it out in the future.
In case anybody was wondering, I their promotion that Rossy was involved in, it's JD Star. So just everybody, just in case everybody was wondering about that, JD Sling that had Jaguar Yokota was a big part of that. And now we're getting to the segment of the show where I'm looking at their cage match. And they had Bull Nakano in the main show. They came back for a memorial or an anniversary show in 2018. Command Bolshoi and Jaguar Yokota against Kari Yoneyama and Kazuki. I mean, that checks out. Lots of old wrestlers. Grapple Beauty. Well, they had Cherry. You know that wrestler Cherry? She still wrestles. Yeah. Sakuran Bonita she was a homegrown JD Star talent, folks. And then one of their matches got rated 4 stars by Dave. That's the end of that story. 6 asks, who will be the first Gina De Wave champion? They should have Julia just win it. And then, or they should like our Portuguese friend suggested, just have Tam come over and be the real red belt champion.
I think it'll be interesting to see. I assume there's probably going to be a bit of a mad scramble for freelance talent now on both ends. Rossy's obviously, you'd assume Rossy's going to be bringing in a lot of ex-Stardom talent, but to what extent that's going to be, we still don't know. So you'd imagine he'll pad out the roster with maybe a couple of the signings, and then on the other end, Bushiroad, they're going to need some fresh faces, seemingly, if they want to stay afloat, if they want to have a roster, depending on how far this extends to. So, a couple of big freelancers could be kind of in the mix. I wonder if either side makes a big play for someone like a Suri right now, who's obviously a huge name in freelance Joshi wrestling. I'd be interested to see if she lands in either of these two promotions this year.
I feel pretty strongly that
Go ahead.
Tam Nakano is going to be on the Bushiroad side. That's just my, personal opinion. I think Tam Nakano is going to be on the Bushiroad side.
Could be. We have a $20 super chat from Will Chisholm. Is the real reason why Io and Kyrie went to WWE in the first place because of Rossy? And if so, I can understand why people WWE at some point. Makes you think with the Julia stuff now. I mean, well, in an official capacity, but like Stardom was pretty obviously like WWE's top like talent scout location for a while. Like they signed Tony Storm, they signed B Priestley, they signed Kyrie. So they were obviously like an EO, of course. So they were obviously like using Stardom to the extent that like when it was literally when like Triple H was talking about NXT Japan, like obviously they had some sort of with Stardom, right? However, I think that might be an overstatement to say that like that was the real reason they went to WWE. Like the real reason they went to WWE is because they get paid like a shit ton more and are bigger stars as a result. And that's like I think that's kind of when you get right down to it, that's the real reason.
More recently the more recent Kyrie departure, I guess you could say, was partly due to Rossy. I believe when she left, I remember the Dave and Sonia, the Observer boards, were talking about there's more to come from this. We'll hear more in January next year or something like that. We were all kind of confused. There were talks about an exodus and stuff like that. We are now seeing what that was, right? what they were talking about. So I guess Kyrie's most recent exit, her return to the WWE, I guess was partly because she was aware of what was coming. You can understand her being more loyal to Rossy Ogawa than others. She's obviously a long tenured Stardom wrestler, so I guess that. But I wouldn't look into too much the previous Stardom to WWE moves.
Did you guys know that JD Star also had a wrestler named Mirai, one word?
Mirai. Yeah, so the current one is Mirai 2.
Right, she's Mirai. Well, she's Mirai all caps. This was just Mirai. And
Mirai.
The one right now is Mirai.
I bet the first one was a lot better.
Well, yeah. If we didn't start the pod the way we did, I would make a joke but I can't. So this Mirai passed away at the age of 22 in a car accident. And I didn't realize it until I said the thing. So you know what? We're just gonna move on from that. I'm sure she was great and had a good career. She wrestled 216 matches. She was on K Dojo and JWP. She's on DD. That's cool. Anyway, and A2. P to DD. I was also gonna. Scarecrow is asking the real questions on who will sign. Murph knows. Murph knows the best wrestler. Maya.
She's so
Fukuda.
cute. She's so cute.
It's true. It's true. Does she still wrestle? I don't watch. She was on.
I think she does.
Girl. She wrestled Azusa Inaba. On JTO. Yeah. That's nice. Anyways, what else is there to know? What else is there to talk about with Rossy? Anything?
So we've covered possible talent exits. We've covered the new. I guess what do we think when do we think the new promotion will start, and how do we think what's that going to look like in terms of is it going to be?
I think they'll start at Cork. I think they'll start at Cork and Hall, and I think they'll start. I'm going to say they'll start in. Oh man, it's weird though because like all of these like Korakuen and all these venues, they reserve their stuff at the beginning of the year and then it's like booked out. Like it's hard to start a promotion. So maybe they don't get started for a while and Julia is just there to be like a talent scout and like to sell people on it. You know what I mean? Maybe Julia never ends up wrestling a match for this promotion. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm gonna make this might be a bold prediction. It might not be, but I'm gonna say Julia never wrestles a match for this promotion, and that it takes like months for it to get underway.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. The Julia thing does kind of it puts all the pieces together with what the Meltzer reporting was like for Julia. Obviously, she was originally seemingly going to work the Windy City show in April, and then obviously
Right.
that kind of,
Yeah.
that was kind of cut off. It seems like now she's going to leave at the exit. The expiration of
So
her
are they just going to
contract.
vacate the belt? Are they going to vacate that belt?
The strong
They
belt.
might
So
disappear forever.
Yeah, on the most recent pay-per-view, which was the same day as Rossy's exit, there were like 3 wrestlers who like challenged for the belt. So I mean, they could like quickly book something, but I mean, I don't particularly give a shit about the New Japan Strong
But
Women's Championship. I want it out of
you see,
Stardom, to be honest.
I care because the New Japan Strong, not really because of the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, but I care about the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship because it's 1/3 of the American Sankan. So that's why I am so invested in the future of these strong belts, because you see, I'm very invested by the American Sankan. So I hope this keeps going.
I think the New Japan Strong Championship should be the world championship of the new promotion. And I think Julia should just be champion, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm already champion. Sorry." Yeah. I
Doesn't
don't know.
really add up.
All right.
But, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So I think that's gonna do it for Rock. This is, I would say, the biggest story in Joshi Pro Wrestling since Hana Kimura's passing. And if you want to take out like tragedies that have nothing to do with the business itself, it's the biggest story since Stardom was purchased by Bushiroad. I would say slightly bigger than this.
I would say
but
this
it's
is
easily
bigger.
the biggest.
I think this.
You think so?
This is the biggest since the Ghastly match. The Ghastly match. This is the biggest since that.
I would say this is bigger than the Bushiroad takeover, just more so because the Bushiroad takeover, obviously it was a huge deal, but Stardom kept going. After that, this is like could be catastrophic for Stardom and will also birth a new promotion. I think this is personally, I think this is bigger than the Bushiroad takeover, but it's huge. It can't really be overstated how big this is going to be, and the ripple effect this is going to have across Joshi wrestling. Like we talk about freelancers, potential exodus, working relationships. It's going to be developing. I assume we're going to be talking about this throughout the year as it kind of develops.
While we're on the topic, let's briefly talk about the Stardom pay-per-view that feels so insignificant now as a result. But it was a good show. A lot of people had good things to say about it. In particular, the high-speed match. And so we'll start. We won't talk too much. By the way, the only notable thing I have before we started getting the main matches on this show is that why the hell did Yuzuki not win the Future of Stardom Championship? Is she leaving? Is she gonna go? So that was I thought that was pretty dumb when I saw that result. But yeah, the big story from this show that people are talking about is the people are saying that there was a time limit draw for the high speed title between Mei Sarah and Hazuki, and people are saying it was just great.
Yeah, this was terrific. I mean, Mei Sarah has been one of the MVPs of Stardom. I talked about earlier the last year wasn't really a strong year for Stardom, particularly in comparison to early years. But Mei Sarah's signing in April, and her subsequent work, who was kind of one of the shining lights last year, and she's continued that into this year with the high speed title. This, I think, was the best match of her career. Mei Sarah works at such like a breakneck pace. She's like she hits the ropes faster than pretty much any wrestler I can think of. But she kind of there was still that in this match, but it was more measured. It was more controlled. I think she was kind of putting everything together more so than she'd ever done, and obviously being in there with Hazuki, who's obviously one so experienced in high speed wrestling, one of the best high speed wrestlers Stardom ever had, and then two, always delivers in big title matches. She'll be someone who'll be crucial for both promotions, who they can, who can keep hold of Hazuki in terms of how reliable she is on the big stage, and she, it was no different here. Anytime it was like, the white belt title match. Anytime you throw her in the situation, she
Right.
delivers. And so she's, hard hitting action, and hasn't missed a step in the high speed kind of realm. And so when you put her in there with someone as exciting as May Sarah, who is now developing into a much more well-rounded wrestler, it was kind of the perfect defense for May. And the draw leaves the door open for a rematch. And you'll either get a high-speed title win for Hazuki, which isn't exactly the belt I'd like to see her challenging for, but I would never say no to it. Or you get May defeating Hazuki, which would be so big for her and her standing in the promotion. So either way, I'm very happy with where they're going with that one. But terrific match and a really big one for me, Sarah.
How lucky we are to just have Hazuki wrestling. Like,
yeah.
And we thought she was done forever. We saw her come back, for the Hanakamura show, the first Memorial show, all the way back in 2021. And we were like, wow, she's still pretty good. She was awesome in that match. And she came back and she's literally better than ever. She's better now than she ever was in her first run, which was great in her first run. So just very lucky to have her. We had an all-star tag match, 8-man tag match. Mayu Iwatani, Utami Hayashishida, and Azumi against Julia, Mirai Shuri, and Suzuki. 21-minute tag match. A lot of people saying.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, these multiple woman matches are always, they always deliver on these Stardom shows, and of course, this is kind of one of the anniversary matches. This is a 13th anniversary show for Stardom. It was a very star-studded lineup in this one. There's not too much like analysis of the match I can ever do for these things. They're kind of pretty chaotic. Just a lot of wrestlers coming in and out. But I guess the highlights from this would be kind of the closing stretches with Mayu Iwatani and Suzuki. And then some of the interactions between Shuri and Azumi were really exciting. So I think obviously looking into possible directions for new feuds for the remainder of the year, that was something exciting. But of course, as is the case with this show now, we don't know who's going to be sticking around. We don't know how long these feuds are going to be able to last. So it's a weird one to kind of reflect on. But just looking at it as a match, I think this was a really, really exciting showcase of some of the best in Stardom for this occasion. And this one delivered as always.
2 more title matches on this show. We had the top 2 titles defended on this show, both successfully. In the Wonder of Stardom title match, Sariano beat Starlight Kid to defend her title. People said this was pretty good, but like nothing like crazy good. Some people thought there might be a title change here, but I know.
Yeah, this was it wasn't. I enjoyed this match. It wasn't a bad match by any means. It definitely didn't live up to some of the expectations and what I thought this match could, the heights this match could reach. I'm obviously a big fan of both these women, and I think Soriano with the white belt is a pretty exciting booking decision, considering she's technically still a freelancer, not signed to the promotion. It was kind of a bold move to see them put the title on her. I think this is one of the better Starlight Kid performances in recent weeks. I think she'd kind of been not kind of performing to the levels that we'd seen as of late, but I think she stepped up a little bit here, particularly towards the closing stretch. I think that's when this match really picked up, but it took a little while to fully get going, and it just felt like there was something missing in this match. The Stardom crowds don't particularly help. For some reason, they've struggled to kind of get out of pandemic mode.
Yeah.
It's pretty strange. It's tough. It's particularly on the Sunday when the show happened. I was jumping between a lot of different shows. After the Stardom show, kind of New Japan, CMLL, and it's always pretty jarring. Going to a Stardom show and having great wrestling on, and the crowd, they kind of sat on their hands. It's a little weird, but so that didn't help. But this was a decent match, but it's not something I'd be encouraging you to kind of go out your way and check out. In
the main event, we had Micah do the World of Stardom Championship in her. This is her first defense, right?
Yeah.
Or am I losing my mind? Yeah, it was her first defense. She defended against Saya Kamatani in one of Saya's first big matches back after injury. And this is a really good one, too.
Yeah, another great match. It obviously the high speed match was probably match of the night, but this was just a notch below it. But still a great match. These two have great chemistry. We talked about it when we previewed the show. And this is more of the same. Hard hitting stuff from Micah, and then always innovative offense from Saya Kamatani. She at one point she did the Will Ospreay counter. Where he kind of flips over the lariat and looks like going for a power bomb. So Saya Kamatani's always kind of coming up with new cool ways to impress people in these matches. But in terms of Micah and her reign moving forward, as much as I said, these two have great chemistry, I think she definitely shows out more in the big time matches when the matches are more physical, when they're more kind of a bit almost more of a brawl. So I feel like if she has a match with people like Shuri, potential rematch with a Suzuki, I feel like those are the matches that are gonna get the best out of her reign. So this was by no means. I still think this was a great match, but I think the best is still to come with Micah's reign. So a good first defense, but I think what's to come is going to be a lot better.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it depends on. There's
Who's
a lot
there?
of questions. Yeah, there's a lot of questions up in the air. I'm just really interested in seeing how this plays out. I mean, I don't know. It's tough because you want the autonomy, you want wrestlers to have choices on where to go, but reality is the consolidation of all this talent into one promotion has been really good for the fans, made it really accessible for a lot of people, and it seems to have been financially successful for everybody involved too. So a lot of questions yet to be answered, but hopefully we get some answers pretty soon here. Let's move on. Let's go across the Bushiroad umbrella here, and let's head to New Japan. First, there was a match that is getting rave reviews over the last week that we have to talk about. I have not been able to watch it yet, but people are out of their minds about this match, and it is Gabe Kidd versus Hinare from this Sunday. Again, I haven't watched any wrestling since Sunday night. I haven't been in the mood for it. But this match is getting just absolutely crazy reception for essentially a mid-card match on a Cork and Hall show. Jamie, you watch everything, and you watch it ASAP. Have you watched this one, and does it live up to the hype?
It absolutely does. I jumped from this one pretty quickly after the Stardom show, and I talked about the difference in crowds. The New Japan crowds are always fired up, and for this one, it was more the same. Two guys who just kind of beat the shit out of each other in there. So when you put them together, it's kind of you know what you're getting, but it still delivers. A lot of brawling throughout the crowd, some pretty wild spots, particularly from Gabe Kidd. But Hinare is kind of the guy I was circling coming out of this match, because he's just he's been a revelation in the past year. He was right down kind of the bottom of the pecking order in New Japan, and then he had the kind of the gimmick change starting the G1. Well, he had the performance against Shingo before that, which was a bit of an outlier, but since then he's developed into kind of almost one of my favorite pro wrestlers to watch in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's so physical in the way he works. So putting him against Gabe Kidd gave the result which I expected, which is just two absolute wild, animals in there just beating the shit out of each other. So there's nothing too technically incredible, but if you want to see two guys just wallop each other for a bit, then this is the match for you, I think, and that's the best way I can put this one.
According to Cage Match, Hinare has had all of the 7 best matches of his career in the last calendar year. I think you're so right about him being a revelation. Murph, have you gotten a chance to see this one yet?
If I, got a call from a very rich man, let's say Jay-Z. Jay-Z called me, hey, Murph, I'm going to give you money and you're going to start a wrestling promotion. And you see, my first thing I would do is I would do a G1 block style. I'd make one block, and I would have these 5 guys in it. I'd have Eddie Kingston, Ilya Dragunov, Gabriel Kidd, Hinare, and Josh Barnett. Those 5. And I would just have them wrestle each other, and all of the matches would be tremendous. You know why? Because the thing that all those 5 guys share is they think that wrestling is real. They don't think that wrestling is fake. So that's why this Gabe Kidd and Hinare match was so good. Because these two motherfuckers think that wrestling is real in their heads. They are that crazy. So they are able to have a match like this because they are not doing work punches. They are actually beating the shit out of each other. This is very similar to, if you think back to, there was a match, Roderick Strong and Bryan Danielson versus the Young Bucks, where Roderick Strong and Bryan Danielson just beat the shit out of the Young Bucks. And that made the match so compelling and great because wrestling, you see, there's nothing I hate more in wrestling than UWF style matches because you're doing real matches, but it looks fake as fuck. The best kind of matches are just straight singles matches where the guys just beat the shit out of each other, like the Okada and Shibata match, which, he beat him a little too hard, obviously. But, the best matches are when they beat the shit out of each other and they think it's real. And these guys thought it was real. Tremendous match. I gave it 5 stars, which is, big for me. I don't really give 5 stars too often. So I really enjoyed this match, and it was a great match for a Korakuen, and I wish all Korakuens were like this for New Japan because I found this match very, very compelling.
Leading into this weekend, we have the culmination of this big Bullet Club War Dogs for Empire feud, and we also have some departures from the promotion as well. So, New Beginning in Osaka, always an exciting show, always a unique crowd experience too. A few undercard matches that I won't go super in depth on. We've got Oleg Bolton, I should say, and Ryusuke Taguchi versus Yo and Toru Yano. Callum Newman and Great Khan versus Bishamon. Yujiro, Ren, Show, and Evil. We got House of Torture against Hontai with Shota, Desperado, Honma, and Tiger Mask. We got LIJ versus Just Five Guys, which seems like they've just been going at each other forever in a 10-man tag. And then we get Kazuchika Okada versus Hiroshi Tanahashi in what looks to be Okada's final New Japan match, which I can't believe those are words that are coming out of my mouth right now. But it's true. It's the last big singles match for him in New Japan. And it is the defining rivalry of 21st century New Japan and perhaps ever in the company. So perfect way to send him off. I wish it was a main event. It feels like it's big enough to be that, but New Japan never does. That's not their style to do it that way. So, yeah, Okada versus Tanahashi, Jamie.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest rivalries in wrestling history. I think if this is the end for Okada in New Japan, I couldn't think of a better final opponent for him to be going out against. I'm not entirely sure if this is definitively his last match. I remember when they announced his exit, they mentioned that he'd be on the February 23rd, 24th shows. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
So he may have an unannounced 2 matches, which is
I was going to say because he's not on the card yet, but I guess they don't have a full card listed.
Yeah, I would absolutely love for his if that is the case for him to maybe put over a Shota Umino, wait with a Shota Umino on the way out.
I know.
But if that's not the case, then and he's not going to do that, then you couldn't really have a better opponent to close close out Okada's New Japan career than Hiroshi Tanahashi. We've seen it a couple of times, in recent times, where they still absolutely have that chemistry there. So back in Japan for this one, I've no doubt this is going to be a very, very special match. And yeah, it's one I'm looking forward to seeing the match, but I'm also not looking forward to kind of the aftermath of it, and it kind of hitting me that this is it for Okada. It's another major story in Japanese wrestling this year. There's been a lot of them, but this can be a tough one for New Japan.
This match is gonna be pretty damn good because Okada and Tanahashi, them two in the ring together is a 4.5 star floor. I mean, that's just how it is. I will say their match last year in San Jose I thought was pretty disappointing, but the grandeur of this match and the fact that it's in Osaka, this match is gonna be pretty fucking good. And I expect a pretty fucking good match. And there's a reason that this isn't going to be for the 15-minute title. This is going to be a 30-minute long match. And it's going to be fucking great. And I'm excited for it. I'll keep it short.
We have, for the second time on this tour, a tag team championship match with Phantasmo and Hikuleo defending against Kenta and Chase Owens. I do not give a shit about this match. I do not want to watch it. I will watch it with this face, and then I will not react to a single thing unless I don't know. I don't think I'll react to anything unless Kenta like magically de-ages by 10 years and he's like incredible. But I'm not getting my hopes up on that one.
I don't care.
Yeah. Why?
Don't give a shit. Don't give a shit. This is fake to me. That's real, not real wrestling. What is real wrestling?
Yes.
Going from one match that is not real wrestling to perhaps the most wrestling out there is Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. Running back their ungodly AEW Worlds. What was the
Wrestle Dream.
Dream?
Wrestle
Yes.
Dream,
Wrestle Dream match in front of a Japanese crowd. We've seen a match like this in the reverse where we got, for example, Omega versus Ospreay at the Dome and then ran it back in the US, and people are pretty divided down the middle based on which one is better, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one in the reverse. This should just be incredible.
Yeah, this is one of the most anticipated matches of the year so far. This is going to be incredible. When they announced this, I think a lot of people were pretty taken aback because obviously the first match, like you said, was on a big pay-per-view. I think this one came pretty much out the blue. They teased it a little bit in the new beginning tag, but I don't think anyone anticipated it being something that they jumped to so immediately. But I don't think any of us are complaining by any means. These, the two best technical wrestlers in the world. Bryan Danielson, of course, considered by a lot of people to be the best wrestler of all time for some people. Zack Sabre Jr. has only gotten better throughout the years, and I think right now he's currently prime, particularly with Ospreay and Okada leaving. I think he's primed to be one of New Japan's top stars for the next couple of years. If they've got their head screwed on there and they know what to do with them. But this should just be incredible. I hope the crowd's really, really fired up for us. I'm sure they will be. And yeah, it's just going to be special. The first one was an incredible experience. It's a match nothing like, it was as I said, it was a match of the year contender, but this match was so different to any of the other matches last year in how it was put together. Of course, the way those two guys wrestle is a big part of that. So seeing them run it back in a different environment and potentially Zack Sabre Jr. scoring the victory this time around, which would be huge for him if he picks up that win. Obviously, not nothing certain. It's still Bryan Danielson, but he's a very given wrestler, and I feel like this may be Zack Sabre Jr.'s big win here, which could propel to big things. But I'm incredibly excited for this match, and I'm sure the same can be said for you, Murph.
This match is going to be fucking amazing. Jesus. I mean, their first one was awesome, and this is going to be great too. I think Zach does win here. So you're at 1-1 in the series. And I think you might have a little special match at a special place called Wembley Stadium. So that's my prediction here. I think we get Zack Sabre Jr. going over here. Zach heats up a little bit in New Japan. Danielson keeps doing his thing in AEW with the CMLL guys. And I think come August, we'll see Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. in possibly Bryan Danielson's last match as a full-time wrestler.
I am I echo everything you guys are saying. I'm looking forward to this one a ton. Sorry, I was getting annoying texts from random people as you guys were talking. I wasn't listening to you guys gushing about this match, but I presume that we were talking about how great it was going to be.
Yes, Pete.
Another match that could end up being incredible based on the talent involved is this steel cage match in the main event. I haven't been quite as tapped in to wrestling over the last couple weeks, so I'll defer to you to get out like the rule set if they've talked about it, Jamie. But it's United Bullet Club Gold, Will Ospreay, potentially one of his last matches in New Japan, Jeff Cobb, Henare, TJP, Francesco Akira, 5 fantastic wrestlers against, I would say, 4 really good wrestlers in Gabe Kidd, Alex Coughlin, Clark Connors, Drilla Maloney, and David Finlay. And then also David Finlay, I guess is the point I was trying to make there. For me, here you go over some of the rule set, Jamie, and then I'll talk about how I think this one should go if I was booking it.
Rule set. War Games. That's what this is. Yeah, we had
That's
it confirmed
right.
by David Finlay that this is a War Games match. So I believe they said that. I think he said that Finlay and Ospreay are going to start this one. I may be mistaken.
Mm.
So that'll be an interesting way to kick this thing off. And then obviously, we'll have talent from each team coming in every couple of minutes. But so yeah, it's in WWE. So that's kind of the reference for that if you're not entirely familiar. But in terms of what this match is going to look like, carnage probably. I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
They said War Games. I'll be interested to see. I doubt they're going to have the 2 rings set up because when they do that, they particularly have they have the 2 rings for
Yeah.
the entire show. So I doubt they're going to have this show with the 2 rings throughout the whole way. So seeing a War Games match in 1 ring is going to be something. But like you said, you look at the names involved there. Obviously, the obvious ones, Ospreay. The 2 guys that we just talked about with their singles match, Hinare and Gabe Kidd. I'm circling those 2 again. I think in this environment, they're going to do something crazy. I'm really hoping Hinare has a big showing in this one. But yeah, I think it should be super exciting. Obviously, the juniors in there as well, probably going to do some crazy high flying stunts. But in terms of a way to send Will Ospreay off from New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's going to be a wild match. It's going to be crazy. It's something that we've obviously never seen in a New Japan ring before, so it's a first time ever. But yeah, just kind of a very, very wild match and something I'm looking forward to a lot.
I can't wait for this one. I mean, it's just going to be crazy. This is like the white boy special in New Japan. You get who like all of care so much being loved by Japanese fans, like almost like anyway, you know what I mean? But that's good for us because they kill themselves. Like this match is going to be, and like this match there are permutations of this match. I don't like on paper not as like locked in fantastic as Sabre versus Danielson, right? Permutations of this match, if they get the right crowd, the right structure, the right storytelling, where this is one of the matches of the year based on the talent involved, the unique environment of being a legit hardcore match in New Japan. Again, a 10-man War Games tag match where none of the wrestlers are Japanese is unheard of in New Japan, and I don't think people have talked about that as much. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. I think it's going to be just insane. I think it's just going to be a spectacle. If there are any spots where any of these wrestlers are thinking, do I want to do that spot? They should say yes. You do want to do that spot. Go 40 minutes. I don't care. It's gonna. I'm stoked for this one. What about you, Murph?
It's a cage match in Japan. I mean, that's kind of my wheelhouse. I mean, there aren't as many wacky stipulations, and you don't have
no
to
one's
juggle
gonna
up
lose
and
their
get
mask.
There's no stipulations like my favorite stipulation ever was in the 2020.
Can I guess? Hold on. What is it? Well, actually, go ahead.
When Yamano said that if he lost, he had to do the opening talk show segment.
Yeah.
He had to wear a bathrobe to the ring, and he had to straighten his hair.
Was that 2020 Dead or Alive? Was
Yep.
that
Yep.
Yeah, bro. I just love. I mean, I love in Dragon Gate when they're like, oh, freaking Red can come out and be the neutral guys, so they can, or they get natural vibes out there to be the lumberjacks, and they have like air horns. So goofy.
And Genki Horiguchi with his rubber bands. I mean,
Genki Horiguchi.
That's the thing with this cage match that kind of makes me sad is there's no rubber bands unless I'm happy. I am proven wrong.
Horiguchi might make a cameo.
Well, that'd be pretty cool. But in all seriousness, this is going to be great. It's going to be a heated match. I'm a fan of the War Games. Jamie, do you know if pinfalls are allowed?
I believe so. Yeah. I think so.
You see, that made my my excitement for it a little less because you see, in my War Games opinion, it should always be submission or surrender. But that's small fries at this. That's gripes at this point. This is going to be great, and I'm excited for it.
Yep, I'm pretty stoked for this one. It should be a spectacle. If it's me, United Empire wins. Ospreay is their dear leader. He departs, and it's fine. And we resolve that later. maybe in post-match comments he just says, I'm done in New Japan, something like that, right? And I'm moving on. Then I think Finley should fuck up. I think he should lose. I think he should be the reason they lose. Or not even. Maybe he's not even the reason they lose. Maybe he fights valiantly 2-on-1 at the end or something like that, and they still beat him because it's just not enough. And then you get these asshole, like insane heels led by Gabe Kidd, and they're just like, "Fuck this guy! What a failure you are! Like, we'll beat the shit out of you. You're out of
I wouldn't do the turn yet. I would wait for Nick Nemeth to beat Finley, and then I would have the War Dogs attack him after the match.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's actually a really good call, and we'll preview that show in a couple weeks here too. I'm really looking forward to that. Man, the top 2 matches on that show are like crazy. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. So anyway, I really hope, and I know Jamie feels the same way. I know Murph feels the same way. We all love Gabe Kidd. We all are not a believer in David Finley. He was one of our shitters of the year last year, and
very prestigious award.
Yeah, very prestigious award. There are a lot.
Wait! You didn't say the full. It's the Noah Junior Division Shitter of the Year.
The Noah Junior Division Memorial Shitter of the Year. Okay, everybody.
Wait! Real quick. We need to touch on. There's a new GHC heavyweight.
I was going to. Why are you cutting me off from saying things I was going to say?
I thought you were doing the Beast of the Week. Sorry.
There was. So this is going to sound crazy. There's a new GHC heavyweight champion.
Oh, I called it. His
name is Ito. Murph's lying. He didn't call it. He's the. I don't know why I'm gaslighting you. Iho, the Dr. Wagner Jr. is the new GHC heavyweight champion. I did not think in a million years this was happening. Yeah, but it did. I am a big Wagner fan. I strongly disagree with this decision. I think it's baffling. Keno is their guy. He should have had. I am not one of these people who's like obsessed with long reigns like some people are, but Keno should have had a really long reign that was finally ended by some outsider, maybe, or someone like Kaito, or maybe some just I don't know. It's just weird. We always talk about how Noah is the promotion where anything can happen at any time, right? And I think more often than not, it's a bad thing for them. I don't really buy Wagner as their top champion right now. I don't buy him as being a bigger deal than Keno, than Kaito, than Go, than Sugiura, than whoever is in that top scene. But regardless, this is hugely momentous. There are 2 world champions in Japan who are Mexican born, which is, I mean, crazy, right? Like unheard of.
And
that's
a
cool.
trivia fact is they actually have teamed together before. Diamante and Hyodo Dr. Wagner Jr. tagged, and a Cubs fan tweeted about it, but it was some like shitter show. Like, it wasn't like a big deal.
It's probably IWRG or some shit like that.
Probably, but now they're here it is. It's this isn't even. It's Promociones Dinamita.
Promociones Dinamita.
It was Dr. Wagner Jr. and El Hijo did Dr. Wagner Jr. and Diamante versus Universo Años Dos Jr. 2000 Jr. I'm not going to even say Spanish. And
nice.
El Galero.
Oh, El Galero, love that guy.
And now they are the world champions of 2 of the 5 biggest promotions in Japan. So huge for Mexicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Like you said, I don't think we'd ever had Mexican world champions in Japan before. Now we have 2, so it's pretty wild. They've come so quickly, one after the other. I tend to agree with Parker's points about this. I'm not sure about this booking decision. I didn't rule it out when the match, when we had the reveal of this match, just because you talk about how Noah switches their titles and they're so unpredictable so often. Io Dr. Wagner Jr. had like a mammoth national title reign in comparison to anything else that really happens. And Noah, he had that for over a year. And it was a strong reign too. It was always one of the highlights of the show for me. So it's clear that they're very behind him, and he's a popular guy over there too. But yeah, coming out of 2023, the Jake Lee reign, obviously a very down year for Noah outside of the early portion, which was pretty much all Keiji Muto. Keno felt like the guy. We originally thought it was going to be Go Shiozaki, but after the M1 and then Keno getting the win over Jake Lee, he does now feel like he says he is now Noah, as the catchphrase goes, and he feels like it. So I tend to agree that he probably should have held this belt for a long time and kind of had an established, he's just a secure top guy for them. He's the most popular guy over there. So cutting that short is a bold move. I'm not going to say that it's not going to work or anything. So, already, because obviously we've seen that the Wagner is popular over there, but I don't think it's the move I would have made. I think it's a pretty risky one. But I do hope that it works out for Noah, because I'm a big fan of Wagner, and I'm excited for him. Getting this opportunity is very cool for him, and seeing another Mexican world champion in Japan, like we say, is interesting one to see. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and whether this pays off in the long run for Noah.
All right, folks, it's that time of the week. The beast of the week. I'm so scared. Jamie, kick us off.
Yes. So staying on the topic of Mexican wrestlers, I'm going to take us over to Arena Mexico for this past week's Super Viernes, and we had the final of, let me get this right, the La Gran Alternativa tournament, tag team tournament, and we had Místico and Brillante Jr. versus Mascara Dorada and Neon. This match was fucking awesome. It was great. Obviously, Arena Mexico, particularly in the main events, are always super fired up. Touch on earlier, there's always super lively crowds, particularly when Mystico's in there, and of course Mascara Dorada has been kind of the revelation of the year for CMLL. But my beast of the week is Brillante Jr. Him and Neon are two of the rising stars in CMLL right now. Neon has had a little bit more.
Got so much potential.
I see a lot of praise for Neon, cropping up more and more and more. But I think Brillante Jr. was the star of this one. He was so exciting to follow. He had some crazy spots. There was one dive through the ropes where I don't even know how he did it. The way he rotated his body as he came with the momentum. But he just felt like he belonged in there with the big stars of the biggest stars of CMLL. And I think he's got an incredibly bright future. Someone I'm now going to be following a lot closer. As I continue to watch CMLL. So I think he had a really standout performance. So I would highly recommend you go and check out that match. And Brillante Jr. is my beast of the week.
I
Jamie,
really like that.
This is really quickly. This is a genuine question, Jamie. Do you know who had the Brillante Jr. moniker before him?
I do not. I know he's related to Andrade, but I don't know who had it before.
Well, that's who it was, folks. It was Andrade. He was when he was Brillante Jr. for a while. So yeah, obviously big name to live up for to live up to there. I think that's a great pick. Really quickly, are you guys fine with the duo of Gabe Kidd and RA being our collective peak? Any qualms with that?
Go ahead.
Awesome, sweet. For me, I am going to go with somebody I use between the ropes, and I do think this guy is a beast between the ropes, but it's not really why I'm picking him in this segment. It is for his conduct on Twitter and in other media, I'd say, and that is one McIntyre, who has completely leaned into mocking Sia as his gimmick, and because he was such a white meat for years in this company and was barely ever even rewarded for it. I just think he's been so funny over the last week, and I think that them leaning into it is completely the right choice to continue to get him over as a heel. And I hope that his popularity gets him a world title shot at Mania in some permutation, which some people think might be a possibility. You throw Sami Zayn in there, and maybe even Cody Rhodes. But Murph, what about you?
So my beast of the week this week isn't really because of what they did this week. They did have a title defense this week, and the match was, it was as good as it could get with their opponent. But this guy has been doing so well in these last 2 months, and he's really been a revelation for the promotion that he's in, and he's become the most popular wrestler in the promotion that he is in. He's elevated the title he is holding by making those matches feel so grand. My beast of the week is someone who I never thought would be one of my favorite wrestlers in the world right now. My beast of the week is the Black Panther, the big brain, the mouthpiece of the big hug, Hyo. Because Hyo has been unbelievable in these last couple months, and I really just wanted to give Hyo some, respect. I mean, he pulled out 3 stars against Punch Tominaga and fucking Wakayama. I mean, this guy's on fire at how over he is. I mean, he's the most over guy on every Dragon Gate show right now, and that's really a testament to him. So my beast of the week is Hyo.
Gabe Kidd, Hinare, Drew McIntyre, Briante Jr., and Hyo are our beasts of the week this week.
And by the way, for the people noting, I'm not doing The Rock yet because, we don't have plans. But if the Thursday press conference goes well, The Rock is in pole position for next Tuesday.
Well, I'm thinking of one particular show that might be appropriate to make Dwayne The Rock Johnson the beast of the week.
Yeah.
We may have to we may have to wait for that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate all of you for being here. I appreciate you letting me just sort of vent and preach a little bit at the top. Greatly appreciate those who have sent well wishes too. Y'all are the best. But we also talked a lot about Stardom. We talked some New Japan. It was good stuff. Continue to be so many interesting and unique things happening in the world of Japanese pro wrestling and lucha that we love talking to you guys about it. So tune in next week. We'll be back. We'll be previewing some more stuff. We'll be reviewing, hopefully, a show that had potentially 3 classics on it in New Japan. And we'll catch you next time. Everybody, stay dumb.
Dumb.